Fayette County.
Okay. What can you tell us about the courthouse? How old is this courthouse?
The courthouse was built in 1876 and 1877. There had been two courthouses on the site. Between 1869 and 1879, there were a number of fires in downtown Georgetown. The reason that downtown Georgetown looks Victorian is because most of it burned during that period. The courthouse burned in 1876. There was a competition held for design, and an architect from Pittsburgh, Thomas Boyd, who designed a number of other buildings in Kentucky, won the design competition and came to Georgetown to supervise the construction of the courthouse in 1877. It's an example of Second Empire style. Several people, including Dr. William Murtaugh, who was the first keeper of the National Register, have said that the courthouse is Georgetown's best building. It is. It does have all of the refinements of the Second Empire style, which was popular during the period that General Grant was President of the United States.
What are the major industries in the area?
Well, as you know, as everybody knows, Scott County is now participating in the construction of Toyota automobile plant, which will be producing beginning about a year from now 200,000 Toyotas a year. It's one of the major construction projects to take place in Kentucky, and obviously in Scott County it's certainly bigger than anything we've ever thought about. We also have a number of industries which produce parts for other industries, such as Hoover Automobile. Hoover will be producing parts for Toyota. They produce automobile springs and that sort of thing. Clark Equipment Company is phasing down its factory truck operation.
The question we're asking everyone that's representing their county, because we want to help each county with tourism, what would people want to stop and see while they're here?
We have the Royal Spring, which is the largest spring in Kentucky. It's the place where Elijah Craig had his various industrial activities. Just west of Georgetown on 460 is Ward Hall, which has been said by architectural historians to be the largest, grandest Greek Revival mansion in Kentucky. Georgetown College was established in 1829 and continues to be a very vital part of our community. There are several historic buildings on the Georgetown College campus. And then people enjoy driving through the inner bluegrass and the hills of the bluegrass, looking at the beautiful countryside and admiring the large number of old homes that survive that we're very proud of.
Mr. McIntyre, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, gee, I was born here in Scott County back in 1931. And gee, I've been here all my life. I went to a little black school, Ed Davis High School. And at the present time, I'm writing a book on the black schools of the state of Kentucky, because I think it's part of our heritage that would be lost if someone don't capture it in a book form. A long time ago, we couldn't go to the white school because they had that separate but so-called equal theory. Gee, they were separate, but they were way far from being equal. And a little small town like this, it has its problems. There was very few people back during my day, black people, that had a job. All the jobs were for the people. There was, some people call them Uncle Toms, although sometimes you had to be a Tom downtown in order to be a man at home. And of course, I don't consider my father as being a Tom, but he did have a job. He did speak his piece. He spoke his mind. And we have a great heritage here in the state of Kentucky, especially in Georgetown, although we did not have the jobs when I was coming along. All of the rock fences that you see along through the countryside, they were built by slave labor, free labor. See, we came over on a boat, just like most Caucasian people did. Only they came over voluntarily, but we came over involuntarily. And there's so many things in this particular county, Scott County, that needs to be addressed. The only time that you could be of use to people in town was through election time. The politician would use you, and this is so today. They would say that we won't promise you a job, but we'll do what we can for you. But they don't do anything. Now, I've been laid off from work myself at the present time for the last year and a half, and all of these guys know that I'm out of work, the politicians, but yet they haven't come forward and say, gee, I know where you can get this or that job. But and there's so many things that I would like to say, but I know these films don't allow you to say everything that's on your mind that you really want to say. Now, I also came down from one of the 9th vice presidents of the United States. Now, that's where my blue eyes came from. Richard M. Johnson. He was the 9th vice president of the United States back in 1836 under Martin Van Buren. He never was married, but he had several kids by some of the slave women that he owned. And this is documented in his autobiography.
Okay, so how did you fall into, what is the bloodline? Do you have a pretty good handle on the bloodline?
Well, it came through on my father's side. Okay. It came through on my father's side. But I don't like to dwell on that. And I also got my other book that I've got coming out is the title of it is Nigger in the Woodpile. And there's a lot of white people around this county that have got black relatives that they know about and some don't know about, but yet they won't claim them. And I know you've heard that old cliche of nigger in the woodpile. Okay, this would be the title of my book that's coming out. I may have to leave town, leave the county, but gee, I think it's a book that needs writing. And just like the Sally Hemings, are you familiar with the Sally Hemings thing? Thomas Jefferson? Okay, he had several kids by Sally Hemings. And I know you don't want to hear about national history. I think you want to hear more about history right here in Scott County. Now, black history, try not to dwell too much on black history. I used to a lot, but black future is my thing at the present time. I'm more inclined to find out what the politicians are going to do as far as the black people is concerned in Scott County. Right at this present time, they haven't done anything. There is no black people working in the courthouse. There's none in the city hall, although they promise these things when they get into office. And up and down Main Street, there's no black people working in none of these stores. And I think there's something wrong. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1865, I believe it was. Things hadn't changed that much. Our minds are still enslaved, although our bodies are free. And that's the only difference.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a question about, as